I like the idea of breaking and then fixing things. That has contributed to me and my company being very fast.
On this episode of the Matthew Byrd Podcast,
AI is not taking over the things that people value most.
The president of Matraex, Inc.
Matraex Incorporated,
Michael Blood.
I'm in the productivity workflow app world. I think we've been in it long enough that we'll be able to be the architect of the AI projects where Claude is able to do most of it. I can probably double or triple my output.
People with a good skill set, ahead of the curve using the tools, can find a way to stay creative and solve problems that it won't solve by itself.
And I'll start giving it instructions and it'll go in and start building. The physical and digital world where they just intersect, it opens up this creative thing that I love.
What do you say to that younger person who's starting out their journey with some of the key things you've learned? Hey guys, before we listen to the full episode, we wanted to ask, if you're liking this content, would you please subscribe to the channel and like the video? It really helps me and our team grow this podcast and bring in more awesome guests to the channel. Thank you, and back to the episode. Michael, welcome to the studio. Thanks for joining me on the podcast today.
Happy to do it.
So I love digging into stories of interesting people. You are local here to Boise. You're a tech founder, software builder. It seems like you do quite a few things. So I look forward to digging into some of that. But I also love talking about people's journeys and how they even got to what they do now. So before we go back into kind of career history, for those that don't know you, give us the short story of what you do today.
Sure. Well, my name is Michael Blood. I own Matraex. We're a software development agency where we build web and mobile apps for other companies, founders, managers with ideas, people who want to build apps that make money, save money, or bring them closer to their customers.
That's awesome.
That's what we do now. We're a small company here in Boise. We've always been in-house up until last year when we went remote. Now we're in-house a couple of days a month.
Oh, cool. Okay.
I've been married 29 years. In March.
Awesome.
I'm jumping ahead. 28 years, but it'll be 29 years here in a couple. I have a 28-year-old son and a 22-year-old daughter. I'm a runner. I like to play soccer, and that's me.
Awesome. Well, let's go back to your career journey a little bit.
Yeah.
Love following that a bit. What was some of your early career?
The journey started when I was working as a student programmer at Boise State, and I got the job. I was recommended by a professor in a computer programming class to get a student programming job at Boise State, and I quickly realized that I hate working for the state. It just sucked. I go in, they give me a project. It's my first programming project ever, and I go back to them 3 days later. I'm done. I can't remember the lady's name. I said, I'm done. She's like, well, we had that scheduled for 3 months. Go do some research. I'm like, this sucks. Within 6 months, I had people there at the job. Within a couple of months, I had people recommending me to, this is 26 years ago, so it was a while ago.
Yep.
Recommending me to other people that were looking for programmers, and within 6 months, I had quit and was doing my own gig as a freelancer, just working for different people. And since then, I've been doing the same thing for 25 years. But the projects grew. I had to hire. I first hired one of my brothers and then another one of my brothers. And then they kind of spun off and did their own businesses. And I hired more. We got up to 15 people over the years. Started up a couple of offices in Vietnam, India.
Yep.
Shut them down over time, and shrunk more and more into our current size. 4 people.
Yep.
And are now just kind kind of plugging away as AI takes over the world.
You guys using AI a lot in your
We
process?
use it a lot every day. I before I came here, I gave it a couple of commands and said go.
Yeah.
and it's probably done working, waiting for me to give it something when I get back. But I use it every day.
It seems like that's how a lot of businesses are started, is kind of back to your story of you were in a role, but you got bored or you got curious or things were just not keeping up with the pace that you wanted. Does that seem fair to say?
I think it's definitely the pace. Like I just want to move fast.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to do that. I didn't know computer programming was even a thing for me at all. I mean, I sort of did. I just didn't know that was going to be what I did as my main life industry.
Yep.
I was just going to school for finance and happened into a programming class. And that guy said, "Oh, you're good at this. You should go get this job as a student programmer at Boise State." And that really pushed me into it. And then when I realized I was good at it and I could create anything with my mind, I was like, "Oh man, let's go."
Yeah. That's cool.
And sure, curiosity, but even when I was a kid, I was doing paper routes, selling stuff, selling suckers at school.
So you naturally already had the kind of entrepreneurial.
I didn't know it. I didn't know that that's what I was doing when I was that age.
Yeah. Did you have any entrepreneurs in your family or
No.
anybody you ever saw? Or
No, my dad was a CPA. He burnt out, trying to make partner.
Yep.
I don't know that he would say he was in the corporate machine, but that's what I look at now and say, no. My mom was a teacher, that was her career, but mainly she raised 6 kids.
Yep.
It was her main thing.
When you stepped out and started consulting, at that point, did you really think you were going to build a business?
I mean, no, I didn't think, oh, hey, how do I do this? How do I build a business plan? No, I was just like, oh, well, sure. This is great money. I think I was making like $25 or $35 an hour. And I was like, this is huge. And I thought I want to do that more and more. And if I can, hire someone else and make a little margin on what they're doing, I was thinking I want to grow it.
Yeah.
I don't know that in any way I was thinking I want to make a business.
What were some of the challenges that arose when you decided to start growing it? And
well, it's still a problem today. It's always filling the pipeline. So when it was just me, I would naturally be able to go up and down with projects.
Yep.
As soon as I started hiring people, I had to make sure that I had work for them
Yep.
To do.
Yep.
And I just call that filling the pipeline.
Yep.
And so that was a challenge that rose early. I had a lot of shortcomings because I didn't know business and management. It came very naturally, but there were always techniques and things I could learn better. When I went out on my own and started freelancing, I dropped out of college because I was learning programming faster than any of the teachers could teach it.
Yep.
And so it was super frustrating, just like everything else that moves slow. It
Yep.
was super frustrating. But I did go back to school 5 or 6 years later and get my undergraduate because I started realizing, there are some things I need to learn.
Yeah.
I want to learn. I want to do better. And when I was in school before, I was kind of a dick. I mean, I didn't know how to learn. I
Yep.
didn't want to learn. I was like, I don't even know why I was there.
Yeah.
If I had that attitude of,
Yep.
there's not a ton you can teach me. That's really what it was before. And then when I went back, I was ready.
Yeah.
I wanted to learn. I had so many questions and made great connections with all of the instructors and things.
I like the idea of like take a break from school and maybe do some internships and like trial some different industries or something and figure out what you want to do. And then when you go back into college, if you're going to go, is you know why you're going, you're focused, you want to learn that thing. It seems like more people could benefit from maybe taking that path.
I wouldn't ever know like how any one person should do it, or I just know how they could do it.
Yep.
And more than saying, hey, how about this path or how about that path? I'd be more interested always to say, well, what do you want to do?
Yeah.
And so often people don't know. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of weird because I've never had that problem. I got so much I want to do.
Yeah.
I was recently talking to someone and they said, I kind of got my business figured out. I think I'm going to probably sell it at some point in time. And I'm struggling to figure out what I'm going to do next. And I can't even help because I don't know how you could ever not know what you want to do. I got too many. That's my problem is focusing because I got too many things I want to do.
Yeah.
but when a kid has that, it's like I don't know what I want to do. My thought is, well, just start doing stuff and figure out. Do you like that? No. Okay, move on to something else.
Yep.
Until you find it. And if you don't ever find it, bummer. I don't know what to tell you. But it's not going to be by starting something and committing to it for 4 years.
Yeah.
Or even a month.
Yeah.
I mean, if you don't like it after a day or a week, I mean, sure, committing to something might be a good idea.
I feel like maybe that's the direction a lot of people get pushed is like you need to know out the gate what it is that you want to do, and then if people immediately go down the route of college and having to immediately pick a degree when they haven't even worked in that thing and know if they like it yet. That's why I think we see a lot of people go down a path and then they completely change and they change later. And I question that of like, well, maybe there should be a better path to help find out what they really like before they go get their degree and spend all the time and the money and to pursue this lane if they haven't worked in that and know that that's what they want to do yet. It's interesting. I don't know. There is no one right answer.
No, they're definitely not. My experience with it is when I was growing up, I was saving up money to go on a mission. Mm-hmm. But my parents helped me do this, and then when I hit 18 and I wasn't going on a mission, my mom came to me and said, "Well, here's money that you saved for this. You should go to college or do something with it." And so that helped me say, "Oh, okay, well," and I didn't go right to college right out of school, but I said, "Oh, okay, well, I'll do that." And so I went off to college, and that kind of said that must be the next step.
Yep.
So I tried it for a semester, and I worked. Went to another school for a semester, and I worked. Went to another school for a semester. I literally was just trying stuff, trying stuff. But my wife, she knew she was going to school. That was the goal. Her parents gave her that goal. She went to school. She was going to finish it no matter what. And so she kind of had that expectation or that thought for our kids. My son said, "Heck no." He became a mechanic right out of high school, and he loves it. He's still doing it. My daughter, she went to school for 4 years, and there's not a month that went by. She's still living with us because she's just graduating right now. And there's not a month that goes by that she's like, I'm not sure if this is what I want to do, or I might need to change my major. She's just constantly in this struggle area, and now she's just about done, and she's excited to be done, and she's like, I don't really know what I'm gonna do, even though she has passions, and she's like, just last night she got accepted to go to Chicago to dance in some dance thing, and that's her passion. There's just not money in it. And she wants to be here in Boise. And she's like, there's just nobody who pays people to dance. And so I don't know. All of those were just examples of, there's no one path that just automatically makes sense.
Yep.
And for me as a programmer, when I hired people, I wasn't hiring college grads.
Yeah.
I was hiring passionate people who loved what they did and wanted to do it and wanted to get better at it, and oftentimes wanted to move on and do something else afterward.
So you've been doing what you're doing for a long time now, and maybe just scaling or what types of things you work on. I'm just curious to hear some of the like projects, like what maybe from some of the earlier days, what were the types of things you were working on, and then maybe up to even more current. Like what are the main focuses you have as a programming agency where you work with different people? What do you get into?
Well, we aren't only in one industry, but my first biggest project, first ever project that I went out and freelance for was for a freight company. Just building some software that helped them track their freight bills and their fuel costs and invoices to their customers. And it was built in a really, what is now a really antiquated software, and they still use it to this day. That's 25 years later, 27 years later. And I mean, I would love for them if they upgraded, but they're gonna let that software.
It's still solving the initial problem for them.
Yeah, and they call me once a year, and we say, still not able to help. You're going to have to make a big change. I just never did it along the way.
Yep.
But anyway, that was the first one. We never done anything in that industry again. Next biggest project was for a MLM style company that the founders had worked in multiple MLMs over the years, and they said, we're going to build a company that helps a new MLM come up, find all of their, multi-level marketing. That finds all of the sponsors, kind of helps them pump up and get this new thing launched and out there, get a whole bunch of people in your downline, and probably move on. But there were so many of them, and this is before spam was out there, so I probably helped spam become a problem because we were just sending out as many emails as we could, get people into this different thing.
Yep.
People could buy a list, put it in there.
Yep.
And that was one of the things that was really big, but when spam came about, it just crushed it. It just crushed that business. But that was one of the ones that probably paid for our first house.
Yeah.
Or something like that over a couple of years.
Yep.
And while doing that, I was always getting bored, and so went off and I created a online menu system back in the day, early 2000s, where it just didn't exist. There wasn't every single restaurant had their menu online and the ability to order with DoorDash. It didn't exist.
Yeah.
I built my own. Like many of the other products I build, I don't go out and market it, but somehow Penn State found us and said, well, hey, we need this in Beavers Stadium. And so they said, would you customize it? There's a couple of other ones out there, but no one will customize it. So we customized it for them so that their luxury suites could order three different sessions, pre-game, mid-game, and then halftime. So something like that. They needed to be able to order 3 sessions for their luxury suites, and no software out there did it.
That's cool.
I didn't have any customers.
Yep.
And said, I'll customize it. And so we were in there for about 15 years until recently.
Oh, wow.
So
yeah,
we never did anything for another stadium.
Yeah.
Ever. And we did, we've done a electronic medical record software back before there was just tons of them for a psychiatric outpatient facility where people were coming in, getting their records, putting them in there. it stored all of their records, but we never did another one.
Yep.
And it's interesting because all of that adds up to a journey as you're asking. But when I think about it, and I reflect on it every once in a while in different entrepreneur groups and things like that, it's never linear.
Yeah.
People like comment on it. It's like, well, and so then did you push on that? I'm like, no, I was bored with that. I
Yeah.
wanted to move on to the next thing. And if it had ever been done before by me or anyone else, I was kind of like, I don't really
Do it again.
I don't really want to do that. Yeah.
No.
Like I'll spend hours or days or weeks finding a way to not have to do the same thing again.
Yeah.
Even though I could just do it again and be done with it.
Yeah. So, and part of that is probably personal to you. You like doing something new, not doing the repetitive thing. Does that go for the same as you guys as a whole, as a company? You never really like picked a certain type of, platform or software or industry that you were like, hey, we solve this for this problem. You were mostly kind of all these bespoke different types of things that were harder for people to find solutions for.
Yeah, custom is what we called it. And so our industry is custom. There's a ton of people in that industry just doing custom stuff, not trying to build a platform that they can resell.
Yeah.
We'll build that for someone else.
Yep.
But if there's already a platform out there that they could just kind of tweak in order to do it, maybe make that recommendation so that we don't have to do it again.
Yeah.
No, there were certainly attempts along the way to push into to reselling that one, like that online menu system. If we could sell it, we put it into a couple restaurants here in town and tried to go down that road, but never really pushed hard enough on it to grow it into, scale it into something that's gigantic.
Yeah, that makes sense. What in the last few years has been one of your favorite projects to work on?
Pop video. I had mentioned to you, I kind of showed you some of the products that we've got, but QR codes. I love them. I don't know why. It's so geeky, but basically they're. We kind of talked about how they're combining the worlds of the digital with the physical, and a QR code placed in the right spot with the ability to scan it and have a digital experience that's relevant to that spot you're at. Just opens up so many creative outlets for me that I love it. I meant to. I feel like we could just go on forever on different things, but I meant to take a quick picture of a QR code I have on my wall at my office, and it's maybe about the size of that sign. It's about 2 feet. It's much smaller than that. It's about 2 feet wide. It's a QR code, but it's made out of dice. So me and my wife, I like designed the whole thing, and then me and my wife slowly put all the white and black dice in this big old
that's cool.
thing, and it made a QR code that now goes to, when you scan it, it goes to a video of us making that QR code with the dice. It's kind of cool, but the physical and digital world where they just intersect, it opens up this creative thing that I love, and hopefully things that I had a lot of fun doing and probably won't ever do again. But I like to memorialize somehow. I could put that on the wall. Yeah.
No, that's really cool. And some of the industry that I come from and that we focus on with, technologies and built environment, there's things like that where people will recreate full 3D models and animations of, what did this building look like in the 1800s, or what did it, and then you put the QR code in. When people scan it, then you could pull up your phone and see an AR version of what used to be there, or kind of bringing history into storytelling at physical locations. And I love that type of stuff. And I think in the future, I think there's going to be a lot more of that, where throughout cities and historic monuments, and that people have the ability to bridge that digital and physical and storytelling and videos. I think there's going to be a lot more of that. And even more so when like the AR glasses that people are working on, where you can actually wear those and visibly start bringing digital into just while you're walking around. You don't even need a device. I think it's going to be pretty interesting.
Yeah, that'll be crazy. I don't know if I will be around to enjoy it at the level I would have if it had come to fruition when we first started talking about it.
Yeah.
Because now I do have glasses that'll take pictures or be able to see things, and I can talk about it, and they're not quite the AR.
Yep.
But I don't love it.
Yeah.
Like I would have probably 10 years ago. Now I'm like, I really thought I was going to get more and more and more digital. And at some point in time in the last 10 years, I started saying, I want more and more personal connection.
Yep.
I want more and more tangible things.
Yeah.
And so the bridge between those, it's very interesting to me, but when it's getting lost in, not lost in digital, but finding ways to spend more time in digital, I think I'm going back the other direction where I want the digital introduction, but then I want it to be connecting more.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's a personal thing.
No,
I
think it's natural, and I think a lot of people feel that way. We talk about this a lot, even with AI and with social and phones and all of that, right? People are so consumed in digital that it naturally makes people also want to go the opposite direction. The technology is amazing, but then people are like really wanting to get together in person. Like we see that even with like events that we host or even podcasting. Like it's why we went away from doing virtual podcasts. We don't want to, the experience that it creates, having a person in the room and building a relationship and seeing people, it is human connection that you don't get staring at a screen and talking over a headset. And I think it's going to keep going that direction. Even when we talk about things like AI and everybody's using it to, write content. And, I was just watching a video yesterday talking about how there are so many people on social platforms now where all of their content is fake. It's like you start to lose the value of even wanting to follow or connect or read that person's information.
Oh, not just start to lose it. It's gone. I'm not interested. There's too much real stuff out there to even spend any time.
Yet the use of it and the amount of people doing it is growing like crazy because people want to try to use it as a hack for growth or whatever, but it makes them actually get the opposite result of what they want. Now, the people who see that and realize that and are like, okay, I want to embrace the original thought. I want to write by myself. I don't care if there's errors. I'm not trying to... Those people, you can tell, are authentic, the content is genuine, and it makes people automatically start being like a magnet toward what is true, what is real, what is... So I think a lot of people are trying to use things like AI to maybe hack a process, and they're getting the result. They're getting the opposite of what they are aiming for.
Yeah. I think the authentic part of it is... It actually, I'm embarrassed for culture in general that we have to use that as though that's something we want. Authenticity.
Yeah.
When really, how could you want anything? How could you want anything else? It's like it's. I don't know if I can really describe what I'm thinking when I say I'm embarrassed for us as a culture that we have to use that term.
Yeah. But it makes sense.
But yeah, I want that anyway, and I guess I get to just move on from anything that isn't that.
Yeah, and I think that has to do with all areas where we see technology taking over, right? Another example I love to throw out is like art.
Okay.
AI platforms can generate any type of image you can imagine. It looks awesome. It looks real. but nobody's going to, you can generate 1,000 images in 10 minutes, right? Like it's unlimited opportunity to produce imagery. But that is not what people really value. What is the most valuable art? It's historic art. It's things that were done before all these tools and technology was created. It's things that were painted by hand. It's people still crave, no matter what the angle is, music, art, conversation, content, that goes back to the authentic piece. It's really in all of those different formats, industries, mediums. Yeah, it's just interesting to think about the direction we're headed. People are afraid of AI is going to replace everything, but if you actually look at what do people value, it is not, AI is not taking over the things that people value most.
Yeah, sometimes I recently had a conversation with my cousin. I said I was down talking to him recently, and he said, "What are people going to do? I heard we're all going to be replaced at some point in time. What are people going to do?" And I said, "I don't know. I'm no futurist, but I know what I'm going to do if I have more time." And I said it's going to be art, and it's not really art. Someone might call it that, but I just call it being creative with my own mind, and which is all I've ever been anyway. That's probably all people get enjoyment out of, is being able to do something that feels good or that they like. And so creating art, that sounds great. If that's all I had to do, was create something, that sounds great. If AI took over my programming job, which it really is. It's like it still needs a person directing it and coming up with the ideas, but we get stuff done so fast now that the projects have to be huge for us to spend very long on it. Yeah. Not yet, but it's going more and more that direction.
Would you share a little more actual detail around that? Like how you're using AI, or maybe even some of the tools or platforms you're using.
Sure.
It's a conversation we love having, and kind of bringing light, to how are people using AI? What is it? Where is it really thriving, or where is it still really lacking? Yeah, I'd love to hear some.
Yeah, it's a big conversation, so hard to start just there. But I could just tell you, I've been using it this morning already. I'll get up in the morning, and I get up really early, sometimes 3 or 4, and I'll just start my day by talking with it to say, "Hey, here's what I think I'm going to be programming today, what I'm going to build," and I'll have it help me flesh out a little bit of a plan for that, and it'll sometimes generate a whole bunch of different ideas. I'll talk through those maybe on the drive into the office. When I get to the office, I'll pull up my console. It's got the code in it. Yep. And I'll say, okay, here's, and I'll start giving it instructions, and it'll go in and start building. I use Claude code. Yep. Almost exclusively. Okay. When I'm chatting, I'll use other engines. Yep. When I'm just asking questions. Yep. It's almost replaced Google for me, but but searching Google is useful as well. And I'll have it start making coding changes. I'm a strong believer in good, clean code that I can reuse. And so I'll be watching, and I'll see what coding changes it's making, and I won't be overly prescriptive, or I won't be a micromanager of it, but I will sometimes have it change it, or I'll approve it, or say, "Hey, that was a design decision I don't think you should have made." So I will micromanage it more than a vibe coder who's just like, "I don't know if it works, just do it and ship it." But more and more, I can not need to see the code and be comfortable with it, because I can just change it later. Yep. But on projects where Claude in this case is able to do most of it, I can probably double or triple my output. And some projects that have a large existing code base, because we're still supporting older code bases, it might only be able to help improve productivity by a smaller percent.
Yeah.
But we're actively working to improve that and get better at that.
Yeah. What I've said, I'm not a coder, I'm not a programmer, I'm 0%.
Okay.
I was actually just on a panel conversation yesterday, though, talking about AI and technology, and this exact conversation was coming up. And I said, in most roles where students or people are concerned about is there still gonna even need to be a role for a programmer or a copywriter or I believe it's going to keep advancing, and I'd love to hear your take because you're actively using it. From what you've explained, at least already, you still need somebody who has the fundamentals, the experience, the understanding of what to correct, what to ask it, how to work with it, that it really is a tool. It is not completely a replacement. And I think that it will keep improving and maybe even become more efficient and more capable, but that it still is not something where you're never going to need somebody that has in-depth knowledge of how to use it as that tool.
I think it depends. There are cases already where if you go to certain platforms out there and say, hey, build me a tool that does this, it can just build that tool and it's available. And by the way, I'm in the productivity workflow app world, not games or other. I mean, there's other types of apps and websites and things that this may not apply to. But what I'm talking about, where it's a tool or utility, where someone says, "Hey, I need you to just build this for me," and launch it, and that can happen now and exist. There are limitations within there where it might take someone with a little bit more experience to figure out the nuance of a certain situation. Yeah. But it's already to the point where that it can do exactly what you talked about, and it can completely replace it. You get super detailed, and it's going to have limitations. Yep. I run into cases all the time where it's like I catch a problem, and they say, "Oh, well, hey, that was working a second ago. It's no longer working. Can we put in place a unit test to make sure that you test for this, and just because we make a change over here, it doesn't break it over here, or if it does, we know about it." And it's like, oh, it tries to use very human responses. Yeah. Oh, you're right. I didn't know that. Yeah. No. and so if someone didn't know that was the case, then perhaps it's going to get smarter and better at that, and that just me doing that helped it learn. Yeah. Because hundreds of other people have probably said the same thing, and it's out there saying, "Oh, well, hey, maybe I had to be suggesting that." Yeah. So it will. I think it will get to the point where it will be replacing more and more. It's already replacing some lighter stuff. But no, I think that it definitely has the possibility to fully replace it. One of the things I hope for, like this is not a hope for my business. Yeah, because, sure. Because I recognize that it's just going to shrink. I think we've been in it long enough and are good enough about it that we'll be able to be some of the programmers in my company that continue because we've got that core and the ability to be the architect of the AI for the ones that it doesn't work. Yep. But most of that industry is going to really shrink more and more. It already is, but it's going to continue to. I hope that at some point in time, someone will be able to say, instead of going out and buying some monthly platform that they pay in order to, I can't even really think of an example, but like HubSpot or something like that, where they say, hey, I'm using this tool online and I'm paying this much a month for it. In the future, you'll be able to just, I think, say, hey, I'd like my own app that does all of these things.
Yep.
And you'll be able to build it, run it in your own environment on your computer, on whatever it is, and you won't have to pay for that. So I think that that's a possibility, and I mean, we're doing it. Other people are already doing it, where they're building their own tools. Managers and companies are already vibe coding their own prototypes to say, hey, this is what I want. And I've already tested some of it. I just can't get it the last mile. And so they'll come to us with it already partially done or thought out. And it's an awesome use. It's phenomenal.
Yeah. I think as it heads that direction, that, and again, I'd love to hear your thought. You're in the seat. I would think that for those that are being proactive and adopting the tools and staying ahead of that curve, that there will always be an opportunity. It changes from maybe doing what it used to be, building the basics or building that foundation, to making people be creative and find different problems to help solve and combine different ideas and platforms, but that the creativity that people can bring by adopting and using the tools. And I think because of the fact that even when technologies come out and people are starting to use them, that it's never going to be everybody is on board and everyone's using all the tools and everybody knows how to adopt. So I think even with the tools becoming so good and being able to replace certain parts, that people with a good skill set ahead of the curve using the tools can find a way to stay creative and solve problems that it won't solve by itself.
Yeah, two angles on that. One is, sure, anybody that's truly passionate and follows the needs that are out there, ideas will always be valuable. If you have a new idea and you pursue it, of course, that's always going to be relevant. Is it going to be relevant in mass? Back in the early 2000s, we were I graduated, even when I went back to school after a while, I graduated in a class of 4 people at Boise State that were programmers. And now they're well, I don't know about now, but 5 years ago, they were cranking out hundreds.
Yeah.
They were like, oh, we need programmers. Yeah. That level of mass, no.
Yeah.
That is not, there's not always going to be a job for that.
Yep.
I don't think.
Yeah.
But if you're saying, hey, I've got an idea and I want to put it in place using these tools, using the best of the best tools, adopting the newer tools, yes.
Yeah.
Will there be a job for you out there to do it if you're not kind of coming up with your own idea? I kind of don't think so. I mean, I think that just our need in our company for developers has gone down because we can get things done so much faster that I don't think that will always be out there. I think there'll always be a need for people to do stuff. Yeah. Which tools they're using. Yep. And who's going to be needing it, or whether they're going to define their own need as an entrepreneur. Yep. I don't know. We'll see.
I think we'll need more AI architects and prompt engineers, and it's creating a new need having all these tools out there, right? People learning how to use them. And that's the interesting thing when there's, with any emerging technology or new technologies, is nobody's defined here's how you do it yet. Everyone's like trialing different tools and different processes, different platforms, and then it will start to come to light of like, we actually need a bunch of people who learn this process or learn how to create, workflows within certain new platforms that are out there. Right now, it feels like the AI platform Wild West.
Yeah. And I don't know what the next Wild West will be, but it'll come about. But the other point of what you said, where there will always be a need for it, there will always be a place for it. And I've used a couple of different examples. I can never remember them, so I always come up with a new example. But there's a type of wood shop out there where people use nothing but hand tools. And they appreciate the art of it.
Yep.
And there are people who buy the products that they make because they appreciate the art of it or the process of it. And I think that the same thing will exist. There will be people out there that say, you know what, this is hand coded.
Yeah.
And I'll be kind of geeky, but I used Vim or I used VI to code this entire thing, and that's a text only software.
Yep.
Where somebody there used to be a lot more purists out there that say, oh, that's how I write.
Yeah.
That's how I write my code. There will always be a place for people that want to do that and want to participate in that.
Yep.
It will be a very small group.
Yeah.
But they'll be their artisans of their own craft. Sure, that'll always exist, but it'll probably be like 8,
Yeah.
And you go to this city and you'll go see them through this glass enclosure where people are like, oh, look, they're in there doing that.
Yeah.
And then they'll move on to the rest of the world. But
Yeah.
sure, if you want to hold on to it, I bet you could find a place.
Yeah.
And you could have a really noteworthy
niche.
niche, but
Yeah.
but you'll be one of 4.
Yeah.
And
I've said the same thing to other industries. Like we're, again, coming from some of the construction technology, survey, engineering space where, we talk about as new technologies come up, at some point when they start becoming widely adopted, you either adopt new technologies or you kind of fall behind, right? You can probably always continue doing some level of work, but other people who adopt the tools will be faster, will be cheaper, will have more innovative deliverables. And if your goal is, just keep enough work for you, and you could probably always do it. But if you want to actually grow and be competitive and build at scale, then you have to keep up with what is current. What are other people adopting? What is the industry demanding? I think that same idea with any type of industry or technologies that are coming out, it's really how I see innovation in whole is how do we improve process so whatever our goal is as a business, we can do it faster or cheaper and remain, high quality. And I think that's how most industries and companies have to approach growth and adoption of tools and tech in order to stay relevant.
Yeah. Well, it's a tool. Mm-hmm. It's a tool, and it's creating a huge upheaval. I mean, it's changing a lot of things for a lot of people, but it's the same as any other tool. It just happens to have a bigger impact.
Yeah.
And so if you use that tool, you might be able to displace hundreds of people that aren't using that tool or who weren't using the tool at the right time or aren't using it as well as you are, whatever it is. But when in the construction industry, it makes me think of we did a roofing project. It's been a number of years, but we did a roofing project a while back. And there were, one of the things we were trying to help automate was roofing inspectors that go out and look at the roof, measure it to replace it, create an estimate. And along the way, and it's been a long time since then, Google Maps just says, hey, I can look at that and I can get the size of it, and we can just automatically get an estimate for you on replacing that entire roof based on nobody even showing up. And this is this entire industry of roofing inspectors that it just straight up got replaced. They didn't get replaced. There's still tons of need for it. But just for those estimates, that's hours and hours of showing up, going out there and working on it. And there are people out there like, I will never trust a computer to give me that information.
Yeah.
And there's other people out there that says, well, you're paying, hundreds of dollars instead of 8 or 4 or 1.
Yeah.
And it's just, that is the same type of replacement. We're just now lumping all of that into AI because it's able to also do some of the thinking.
Yes.
Sort of.
Yeah.
Instead of it being super rules-based.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
Okay, a little bit of a shift.
Okay.
I'd love to hear, over the years of building a business and you've mentioned you've had some scale up, some scale down. You mentioned some of the struggle that remains, and I think it's consistent for most small businesses, is, pipeline opportunities.
Yeah.
What are some of the other lessons you'd say from maybe a leadership role of building a team and hiring, and what are some of the other key leadership lessons you've learned over the years with building your business?
Oh gosh. I don't think I've ever used this one as a word that defines everything that I have, but being humble, or not thinking you know it all, or recognizing there's more to learn. That's something that I figured out in the first few years anyway, that I didn't think was part of it. When I went back to school, 2008, so I was 5-10 years into the journey. Gosh, I just have to round into decades now. But I took a class I got a certificate for dispute resolution. I thought one day I'd go into law. I don't know. Always looking at different things. So dispute resolution, and in that class, series of classes, I learned some things about personal communication, and I recognized that just my version of communicating wasn't getting across to other. I just started looking at things through other people's lens, and realizing that as nice as I was being, I was not saying things or asking for things in a way that someone else needed to receive them. And what that meant to me was that the communication needed to change, or it needed to be flexible based on who I was talking to. And I describe all of that to say, not that I think communication was the most important thing, was very important, but being able to learn that, or being able to adapt to that, was something I'd never expected. I thought when I started, I just need to be a driver. I'm gonna push. Whatever other people need, they're probably gonna help along the way. And I just started to realize that I can adapt, I can change, and the people that are alongside or helping are gonna be able to understand it and be able to support it or join it or decide they don't want to better.
Yeah.
Based on being able to adapt to things.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I like that. Did you, when you started, I asked earlier if you had other like entrepreneur family or anything like that you followed after, and you said no. Did you early on, or did you end up throughout your journey having mentors or finding other leaders that you kind of learned from as you grew? There's definitely been some people that have made impressions along the way. One of the people in that class, or in the dispute resolution certification, I can't even remember his name, but he said something that
one time, just offhand, said one thing that stuck with me that I've repeated dozens and probably hundreds of times along the way, and his name will come to me here in a minute. But he said, "They're probably doing the best they can," and it just changed my perspective of what I can and should expect of, or could expect of other people. To just say, they're probably doing the best they can. So, that phrase has become not necessarily a mentor type thing, but more of a principle that stuck with me.
Yep.
That came from someone else.
Yeah.
Along the way, I probably do have mentors. I have lots of people that I talk to all the time.
Yep.
That we have conversations with. That I'm probably a mentor. They're probably a mentor.
Yep.
But we just talk, and it creates guidance along the way. I don't love the idea of people who say, Elon Musk, or these large business leaders who have great ideas, and I have the utmost respect for them. But to have one person or one guide, as opposed to creating and gathering an experience along the way.
Yep.
I don't know. I don't know what I'm trying to describe there, other than
I get what you're saying.
The journey has and always will be fun, and and I don't know that any one mentor has helped me any more than a book that I got one phrase out of.
I have the same answer. I mean, when I started my first company, I didn't go to college. I didn't take a business class. I knew nothing about it, and I didn't have a mentor. I just started. And a lot of it was just like trial and error, make the decisions you think are right. And what I started doing over the years was, I came across this YouTube video of this other business owner on an interview sharing lessons about their journey. And I'm like, okay. And I took a little piece from that. And then I read this book, and then I watched this interview, and then I'm watching this YouTube. And what I tell people now about mentorship, at least from my perspective, was like, I had like 20 mentors, and many of them are global leaders. Some of them are podcast hosts. They don't know I exist, but I just count the being a learner, right? And seeking out information from people who have succeeded in an area that you want to grow. To me, that is mentorship. Maybe not the what most people think of about mentorship is, I have committed to you to be a mentor, and we're going to meet in person, and I'm going to give you a worksheet. Like, it's not an official mentorship, but anybody that you look up to that you want to learn from, they don't even have to know you exist if you have a way to learn from them. And I think that, back to your point too, of like not just looking up to one leader and saying, you want to learn from that one person. The best thing you can do is learn from many and take the pieces that resonate with you, that fit to who you are and the direction you're going, and you shape that in, and it helps you along the way. And I love the first example you gave of the one thing that was said in a class completely stuck with you, and it's been a principle to you. That's why I also just encourage people, even why I started the podcast. A lot of people are like, why am I going to come on a podcast? What do I have to tell people? And it's like, you never know when just a simple conversation and sharing something that you've gone through will completely change someone else's life.
Yeah. I totally agree. And it's weird because I'm always seeking. I'm always looking for something. And so the weird thing is that I never know when I found it until later.
Yeah,
and I go like,
back.
I found that because this is what impact it had on me. There's one. I don't think I've ever been a person that gets stressed, but there was a point, and I read this book that stuck with me forever, and I used tons of probably just one principle, but it it affects so many things. It's called Getting Things Done. David Allen, The Guide to Stress-Free Productivity. I've never been stressed, but I read this book, and the thought in it is take stuff out of your mind and put it in a reliable inbox. That's overgeneralization, but it's the important part to me. And what that means to me is if you take any of the things you're thinking about and put it in a place that you'll remember, you don't have to have an open loop. You don't have to think about things. And so I have a messy desk. I put the things I need to think about on that desk. And I don't worry about. I don't worry about them. They'll be there when I get back to it. And that principle has applied to so many things that I can leave what I'm worried about. Or what needs worried about, because I'm not worried about what needs worrying about or what needs focus right there on that desk or in my inbox or unread or whatever.
I love that.
And I don't have an open loop. And that's been a big thing that's allowed me to, two things. It's allowed me to focus on lots and lots of things. It's probably also enabled me to never focus as much as I could on one thing.
No, that's awesome. I have that book and I have not read it yet.
It's hard. It's a hard book.
Is it?
If you go through all of this stuff, that nugget is something you might get out of going through a lot of the other stuff. It wants you to. Your office is gorgeous, but it would have you clean stuff and go through and like just purge and go through all these processes in order to get to the point where you can just have that one place that you keep stuff. And so my takeaway, just like, there's all the other books you have, I'd probably get one or two takeaways out of each of them.
I have a lot of books. And everyone's asked, have you read all these? I was like, nope. I have a habit of when I hear about a good book or someone recommends a book or there's a book that I follow the author or I buy every book that I want to read at some point. And sometimes I've even had conversations and I've even listened to other people talk about sometimes just having the book and even the title of the book can actually make an impact on you. Because it's a reminder. You see the title, you see the focus. You may not have even read the book, but sometimes it's just that little reminder. You see it and you're like, it makes you think about the things that are the topics of the books around you.
There's a book that's all the rage. My wife talks about it. She hasn't read it either, but it's Let Them by
I have that too.
Yeah. I don't need to read it because that title, that's great. That's a great title. It's like, let them, meaning don't worry about it. They'll do it. I'm sure there's a lot more to that.
Yes.
But that's good enough for me.
It is.
I don't.
Yeah.
I just saw the title and I said, sure, got it.
Yeah. Some of them, that's how I feel. But actually your takeaway out of that book, is awesome. The way that I, manage all of my different reminders, I email myself constantly. I'm sure there's better ways to do it. I even have project management software and task list software and stuff that I've struggled to adopt well. The one thing that manages my life is my calendar and my email inbox. So when I have a thing I want to remember to do that I want to not think about right now, I just send myself an email because I know that every day that's kind of what I'm checking is what's unread in there, what do I need to do. I'll even, if there's something that I emailed a while ago and it's fallen down the list and it's priority, I'll even go in and forward it back to myself again. Okay. So that's my actual inbox of to-dos is my email.
The same. Although I've also come up with if it's within 24 hours, I'll also do an alarm on my phone because I can talk to my phone and say, hey, set an alarm for 7:30 to drive to the RCN network.
Yep.
Studios.
Yeah.
So that I can pull it out of my head. Don't have to worry about it. And I'll say, oh my gosh, what time is it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But
that's awesome.
I actually built an app called Voice Launch that just you can talk to it and it'll just send you the voice recording in email. That's the only thing it does.
Ooh,
just so
cool.
that I can, because I can't believe it doesn't exist yet on the phone to just be able to say, send myself an email.
Yeah.
It just, Siri can't do it.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but I'm pretty sure, she could, but she doesn't.
Yeah. Well, there's so many things that could be built, could be done. Man, we've talked about a lot. I feel like we could keep going in a lot of directions.
I have one more thought on books.
Yep.
I used to buy every book until I started realizing that I need to just browse it, or I can get most of it out of the first or the last chapter, depending on how good the author is. But what I do now, have you written a book?
Not yet.
Okay.
I'm working on it.
Every person I've ever met or known, I make sure I buy their book. And so I no longer am stacking up the bookcases that I do have, but now I've got dedicated books to the people I know.
That's cool.
And so I've got my little bookcase.
Yeah.
Because that is, I'm kind of tying back into the AI. That is what somebody actually created.
Yeah.
And I'm actually a little bit concerned about that because now I hear people talking about, AI is helping me write my book.
Oh yeah.
And I know that they're architecting it and they're creating it, and I don't want to dismiss it.
Yep.
Because I know it's still them and it's a piece of them.
Yeah.
But that's changing that's changing something that at one point in time I thought was super valuable to me as a connection with somebody, and now I can talk with someone and I can feel like that's something that they created and they can give to me.
Yeah.
But it's not as
it is so
valuable.
Funny. It's so funny, the feeling that you get. You don't know if someone's using it for sure or not all the time. However,
and of course they probably better, because if they're not, you kind of think a little bit less of their capabilities as well. But
it gives you, at least for me, on that point, it gives me this immediate additional appreciation for people who have been writing newsletters or blogs or books prior to all these tools coming out. Like, because the assumption that a lot of people make now is they're probably using AI to write it.
Mm-hmm.
So anything that came out before those tools has an extra level of appreciation, I believe.
Yeah, and a lot of times I just immediately go to the, okay, I see that that's out there. What about you?
Yeah.
And I want to go into that conversation because what was written may or may not be a piece of them. That's probably not how I'm going to create that real connection. So I realized you were going somewhere, but I just had to throw that in there. Yeah.
No, that's good. I appreciate it. No, I think as we start to narrow in, just out of respect for time, I want to hear a little bit. I've been having a lot of people on the podcast locally that are here from Boise area, yet our community, our audience is global, lots around the country. And I'd love to hear, as someone who's been in the industry and is local here, some of your thoughts around maybe the technology ecosystem and just innovation and stuff with how you see it for Boise.
Gosh, I don't know that I'm a great Boise futurist,
sure,
to use that term again. It's definitely grown. Like I said, back in the day, just a couple of us made it through an IT program at Boise State, and Micron was still here, and they were it. Them and HP, they were it, and there was not very much of a tech ecosystem. Now there's a way larger group of tech founders and people coming up with ideas, but I think we're still very young. Mm-hmm. Some people say it's because there's not enough money. I really doubt that. That's an excuse, if you ask me. If you needed money for your idea, and you're saying that's why it's not working, it means it wasn't good enough yet.
Sure.
It doesn't necessarily mean that, but I just
Yeah.
don't think the tech ecosystem of the area you came up with it is really the limiting factor there. We're young in that we've got 2 or 3 small downtown hubs
Yeah.
in our entire area.
Yeah.
And larger cities have a community as big as all 3 of them put together, filled in.
Yeah.
And that's the amount of tech.
Yeah.
I mean, all of that is tech.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with that.
Yeah.
There was a point in time when it was hard to find another programmer to hire in Boise.
Mm-hmm.
And now they're coming out of the woodwork. I'm inundated with applications of people saying, "Hey, are you hiring?"
Yeah.
And we're not.
Mm-hmm.
There are plenty of people here
Mm-hmm.
that know and want to be in tech.
Mm-hmm.
The businesses that are here that are launching and coming up with great ideas and selling to larger businesses are increasing day by day. Is that the tech ecosystem? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what makes up the tech ecosystem. I will say that I love being in Boise,
Yep.
and I don't plan on going anywhere.
Yeah.
The companies here that are tech now have employees everywhere.
Yeah.
And employees here or team members here that work for tech companies that are from everywhere. I don't know if an ecosystem really exists. Does that mean there's like a central watering hole where everyone goes and talks tech? I don't know what that means anymore.
Yeah.
But,
No, I love hearing your perspective.
Okay.
That's great. Okay, last couple questions. What would you say are some habits that you've had over the years that have contributed positively toward being a driven entrepreneur? And it could be any of them. You know, a lot of people talk about journaling or waking up early or, you know, certain habits, you know, at work. I don't know. Just curious what comes to mind for you.
Well, initially the waking up early thing came to mind, but not as a habit that actually contributed. That I wake up early because I want to and I want to get going.
Yep.
But I'm not sure that it actually contributes to the productivity of the day. One of the habits that maybe it's a habit, but a way of thinking is something that I do when I'm programming. I break stuff quick instead of build and build and build and then make sure it's right. And I think I like the idea of breaking and then fixing things instead of making things so they can't be broken.
Yep.
I don't know if that's a habit, but that's what immediately came to mind when you said what kinds of habits have been. That has contributed to me and my company and the people I teach in my company to being very fast.
Yeah.
Because when you break something and then fix it, you've just potentially saved tons and tons of time of crafting something that will never be broken.
Yeah.
Because you don't have the mindset of, well, how might it be broken?
Yep.
So think like a hacker. Think like someone who's going to break something. Think like, how could I break that?
Yeah.
I like to. We used to use the term "think out of the box," and now everyone thinks out of the box. So no one knows where the box is that you're thinking out of. But
Yep.
break stuff.
Yeah. No, I think that's great.
Break stuff, and I don't like rules. I don't like laws. I like to break stuff.
Yep.
So sure, well, let's call that a habit.
Yeah.
I have a habit of breaking stuff.
No, it is. It's a great one. You hear a lot of people talk about, I don't know, I closely align that with the conversations around failure, right?
Okay.
Of many people are afraid to fail. They're afraid to break something. They want it to be perfect. They don't want to mess up. And this idea of breaking things or failure is not failure if you learn from it and you improve and you use it to better, a process or your next step. So I love that idea of trial things, break things. It'll help you learn how to build it even better than probably going slow, meticulously, not having the mindset that breaking it is okay.
Yeah. I think that can be overused when you're like, oh, I hate that failure. That was actually a learning, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Sometimes that can be overused
Sure.
to the point where you're not actually learning from it, and using it to decide, well, maybe you shouldn't do that.
Yes.
And I definitely err to that side.
Yeah.
To thinking it's okay because I like it. I see problems, or I almost kind of enjoy when the whole day gets upended by something new that I'm like, oh, awesome. This is something new that I hadn't seen or hadn't expected, and now I get to address that.
Yep. Okay. Last thing to hit on here.
Okay.
Out of all the experience you've had, I love ending with, if you were to pass along advice to somebody that's still early in their career, the lessons that come to mind for you, whether it's personal, whether it's career related, what do you say to that younger person who's starting out their journey with some of the key things you've learned?
Well, I don't know that I learned it. I've always lived it. But do what you love. Do what you love. And I don't want to say the money will follow, but make sure you're doing what you love, because I hate when I run into people that say they've been doing something that they don't like for years. Man, I want to kick them in the shins and said,
Go.
You're the only person. You're the only person that could have changed that. Who else would have changed that for you?
Yeah.
So do what you love. Also, probably your network and the people that you know and the people that you connect with are going to be more important than any of the other things along the way. And I don't know that I want to tell someone else that. I want to tell myself that. Like I would tell myself prior about that, because I was thinking that I was thinking that the business that I was building was the thing that I was creating, and it turned out that it was, but the people that came out of that and that I connected with, that was the more. That's the thing that lasts, because your business grows, shrinks, fails, you sell it, you buy a new one, you move on, you change companies. The people will always be there, can always be there. I don't burn a lot of bridges.
Yep.
Some bridges do get burned.
Yep.
But anyway, the people are the real. Some people use the word currency, but they're the real value.
Yeah.
At least for me.
Yeah. No, it's very true. Well, I love both of those shares. I definitely feel with you on the people not doing what they love. I talk about that so much of like, and I feel like it goes even back to that. Like sometimes people pick a path too early and then they just stay in it forever because they don't they get locked into this like, oh well, I can't change now. That's my career path. That's what my experience.
I'm kind of there now, actually. Like, even though I have that, I'm kind of there. Like, am I going to change a career? Like, of course I can, but
yeah.
But I'm like, I love it.
Yeah,
I'm good at it.
Yeah. But I think just that encouragement of especially if it was geared towards someone earlier or some, looking back on a journey of saying, just making sure that whatever you pick, you don't pick it to pursue it just for the money or just for the position, but you do find something that you can truly enjoy. I think it completely changes your perspective of work. And all of these conversations, they spark popular quotes that I think of that you hear too.
Okay,
right?
what's your go-to?
Well, just that topic, a popular one from Steve Jobs is that like doing what you love and you'll never work a day in your life, or that type of angle, and even to the second point,
I didn't know that was Steve Jobs. I've heard that many times.
Something close
if someone put
to
it up
that.
there and said Einstein,
or
Aristotle, or like I would be like, oh, okay,
yeah. Me too. I another one I use a lot, which I can't figure out who actually wrote it, but it's because we talk about the future and technology a lot, is the best way to predict the future is to create it. And there's like 3 people it's attributed to: Abraham Lincoln, Peter Drucker. I don't know who said it, but I like it. I'm going to attribute it
to you.
Hey, it's some, I feel like all of the quotes, multiple people have said the same thing. Yeah. That's why they get mixed up as to who they're attributed to. But the other one, back to your network and your relationships, that's another very popular saying, is your network is your net worth.
Oh, yeah.
And sometimes those things feel so surface level or like, okay, really? But when you actually dig into it, you're like, it's very true. The relationships that you build, the people that you connect with throughout your career are so impactful and important. Often we're focused so much on building the skill set to do the thing, or building the team to accomplish the project or find the next project. And relationships over time, especially kind of in a certain industry or a niche, like whatever your area of focus is, they end up being partners or clients or employees, or you start to have this ecosystem around what you do, that the relationships you build can really be the game changer over your career span.
Yeah. And like we're talking net worth or value or money, also, that's also in there. The thing for me is that it's, as long as I have the money or as long as I have the career, I'm not even thinking about that as part of it. It's the filling, and I'm talking about both the feeling as well as being full. Yeah. Like I'm full when I have a great conversation talking with someone. When someone reaches out to me that I haven't talked to in years, man, that feels so great.
Yep.
And when we like figure out how things have gone and diverged and gone different directions, there's no better feeling out there. And yes, the money that can come from, you got that job because that guy you were connected to so long ago.
Yep.
That's like that net worth part. Yeah, that's true. But I guess I'm pointing to something different on a personal connection level. Both of those could be true at the same time, but for me it is different that the personal connection I make with people, that is what I probably trade the money for.
Yes. Yeah.
All right, I wouldn't do that, but
can we figure out both?
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
No, it's just so true, and I resonate with it very deeply. It's part of why some of the shifts that I've made over the last couple years, it's the reason I've made them from the service company I was building, where I was doing this technical work on construction sites. And yes, I built relationships, but I completely shifted to this other angle of building a community of people that do this type of work and putting on in-person events where I bring everyone together, and having a podcast where I get to bring these industry friends and relationships and have deep dive with them and share their story. It's so much about connecting with the people. And the highlight for these conferences I host now is not the fact that there's, hundreds of people from around the world flying in. My favorite part is the fact that there's a guy from 15 years ago that I looked up to when I was starting out in business that's attending my conference, and I get to shake hands, and he's, it's this personal connection of bringing those people together and trying to even give back to those people that gave me advice when I was starting, or that I worked on a job 10 years ago with, and that's why I care so much about community building. Is it really helps not just me with relationships, and it's very fulfilling, but it also is making an opportunity for me to connect other people and help spark that connection and relationship building for others. And apart from any dollar, exchange, that is the thing that brings me most joy, is helping other people become successful.
Awesome.
Not just financial, but just successful in whatever that is to them, right? Relationship building, enjoying their work, finding connections. I think people undervalue that in their journey often.
As you were talking about the person from 15 years ago, the guy's name that said they're probably doing the best they can, Ellsworth.
Oh, there you go.
I can't remember his first name, but Professor
Ellsworth.
or he was an adjunct, so he wasn't a professor, but yeah.
Oh, that's
I'm going to have to
awesome.
look him up. It's been a while.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, anything else you'd like to touch on or share before we wrap up?
It's been great. I've really enjoyed chatting with you. You have great questions.
Thank you.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, well, I've enjoyed digging into your story, and it's always fun having other local founders here. I love highlighting the people and the work that's happening out of Boise right here where we are. So
awesome.
Thanks for coming in and sharing.
Well, thank you as well.
All right, we'll see you guys next time.